Recording in progress.
Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Lynchburg. We're glad you're here. Whoever you are, whatever your beliefs, whatever your age, and whomever you love, you are welcome here. As we work together for justice, compassion, and peace, we also acknowledge with humility that our buildings sit on Monacan land. My name is Terry Bailiff. I'm the professional minister of this congregation, but I share the ministry with all our members and friends. If you're here with us for the first time, we're glad you chose to be here this morning to participate in this service. If you would like to receive our monthly newsletter and Friday email updates, then if you're on Zoom, good morning, folks on Zoom, you can fill out the virtual visitor card found on our website, uulynchburg.org. Or if you're in the sanctuary, there's a yellow card on the chair in front of you, and you can fill that out and put it in the offering basket. This morning, we offer a special welcome to our guest minister, Roddy Bell-Shelton Biggs. Roddy is the ministerial intern in the UU Fellowship of Fredericksburg, and thank you for driving through the rain last night to get here. And to Shannon and Miles for offering home hospitality. We also offer a special welcome this morning to a number of Sweetbriar students who are here. We're glad you could be with us. This is the last Sunday in September, and we are completing our theme for the month, which is welcome. We're also starting a new tradition. Before we light our chalice, we will take a moment to wave to our friends, either on Zoom or in the sanctuary, depending on where we are. Today, we won't have a farewell, because we hope you'll stay with us for our town hall meeting. Well, y'all are already waving. Okay, I was gonna announce that later, but yeah, let's wave again. Hey, it's good to see folks. Hey, out there. Okay, wonderful. Please take note of the announcements in the bulletin, and if you're on Zoom, you can find them in the Friday e-news. Now, I invite us to release our worries about the world and our own lives as we enter into the service by taking some slow, calming breaths. May the light we now kindle inspire us to use our powers to heal and not to harm, to help and not to hinder, to bless and not to curse, to serve you, O Spirit of life. Today we're going to have fun with the teal hymnal hymns. So I invite us to rise in body or spirit as we share hymn number 1029, Love Knocks and Waits for Us to Hear. It's wonderful to see everybody today.
A party and a night, like literally in the night, and it's Barbie land.
And some people have on pink this morning, and I'm glad you're here wearing your pink. So I want to tell you something I was thinking about this week. Good morning, Zach. So, you know, one of my children does not like pennies. She thinks they're just like useless because they're not worth very much. I love pennies. And you can't buy a lot with it. But I like to think about, you know, sometimes People don't think that people are worth very much. I know, isn't that awful? I mean, some people consider others not equal or not as lovable as they are. But actually, when you look at these pennies, and I want everybody to get a penny. Okay, some of them are shiny, and some of them, they're probably newer, sort of like, you know, if they were people. 1982. 1982. Yeah. So, yeah, that's very true. However, with people, it's not like that. Some people feel bad because other people like bully them or tease them.
Like in Hubie Halloween.
Yeah, I don't know that, but I trust you that that is important.
The kids bully Hubie.
Oh, that's, yeah. You can keep that because I want you to think about sometimes the way we think about pennies is how we might want to think about how we relate to people. Okay. Yeah. Different ones of us. Okay. Well, each of us will find a place, but what I like about pennies is that sometimes you see them on the ground. Have you ever seen a penny just yeah. Sometimes there's, well, you know what? I'm glad that y'all like seeing pennies.
Well, I like pennies because if you put a lot of them together like 100, it can make $1.
That's right. You're exactly right. 100 pennies can make $1. But if we see them out somewhere, I used to think, I want that penny. But, oh yeah, that's a cool trick. But there are wishing wells. But sometimes now, oh, that's cool. Sometimes now what I like to do is instead of picking the penny up, I leave it for somebody else. That's a good question, Nora. What?
One of the substitute teachers at Garrington, she once found a dime that was, well, I don't remember, but it was worth like something like $50.
Wow, that's cool. But I want us to think about what we can do with those pennies or maybe a nickel or a dime that we leave on the ground. What we could do with it is, let's see what yours looks like, Lucas, on the floor. If you just put it on the floor. Now, what if that were out, you know, on the sidewalk or something? We could pick it up, but just one sec, Beth. But what we could do is leave it there. I'm glad you asked. I like to leave it, what?
Because then we could come back and take it and it would be green.
Oh yeah, if it stayed there for a long time, we could come back and it would be green. But I like to leave it because I think about, you know, that could be a blessing to somebody else who might pick it up. So I think whoever ends up picking it up after me, that I hope that they have a wonderful day. I hope that they're happy.
Especially if it's facing heads up.
Yeah, always if you're going to leave a penny, you should leave it heads up.
Oh, okay. Well, then I will think about that next time I leave a penny. But if it's heads up or tails up, what I want is to do something kind for somebody else. And we do things like that in our lives all the time because everyone needs kindness and needs to feel like they're important. So next time you see a penny or a nickel or a dime on the street or on a chair in a restaurant or wherever you see it, think about maybe, oh, I'm going to send kind thoughts to the next person who sees it and who might really need to take it home and have some blessing in their lives that day. So I'd like for you to think about that, and you might even want to put your penny somewhere that somebody else might find it and have a happy day.
But I kind of want, I'm raising money.
Okay, and there's sometimes when we do need to keep it because we have a need. Yes, Maria?
This penny is special to me because it has the year I was born on.
Wow, that's really cool that you got one that has the year that you were born. Yes, Xenia.
I got so many boys daughter that has.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I got so many ones.
Okay. Now, obviously, y'all really like getting pennies on Sunday morning. So I'm hoping that you will pass on the kindness of a little penny. And I'd like for you to think about other things that you can do to pass on kindness to the people you meet. And in that spirit, I invite us to sing our children on their way.
Greetings, dear ones. I am not sure if this has come on yet because I'm not hearing it. There we go. Greetings, beloveds. As Terry introduced, my name is Roddy Bell-Shelton Biggs. I am the intern minister in Fredericksburg, Virginia. And this morning I share the words of Alondria Williams for a centering. Alondria was the co-moderator of the UUA from 2017 to 2020. They were an incredible leader. Their presence was a force in Unitarian Universalism. Alondria passed away in 2020, suddenly after General Assembly. Hear Alondria's words. If we believe in the promise of our faith, we must continue pushing forward, even if the reality makes us want to give up. There is no one-size-fits-all solution or model, but there are many paths forward based on context, relationship, and place. Ideology sparks movements, but relationships are what change organizations and sustain movements. It takes one relationship at a time. In the end, change to the leadership of the institution happens because relationships, people pushing forward. We must place value on our relationships and not leave folks behind in our quest for transformation. I live in a small city, writes Alondria, and living in that small city helps me understand what community means. Community doesn't only include the people who you get along with, or those whom you want to be friends with. Our Unitarian Universalist faith is similar in the sense that we are a relatively small religious community of people who are not bound by creed, but are bound by principles and values, a covenanted community with a need for intellectual rigor combined with the spiritual depth of humanist love. You see, everything comes back to our congregations and our covenanted communities. That's where the faith starts and ends. We must embody the change we wish to see and not just say that we believe in that change. We must actually live the change with every fabric of our being. If we indeed believe in the promise of our faith, we must continue pushing forward.
Today we take an offering of our gifts for the work of this community, both within these walls and in the larger community. If you are on Zoom and would like to make an offering, you can do so by sending a check or by PayPal. And so we take an offering of gifts that are generously given and gratefully received. In our community, we trust one another with the breadth and depth of
Join me in spoken prayer. Spirit of life and love, known by many and perhaps no names at all, a great unfolding mystery that some have come to know and name as God and others as nature or the universe. We give you thanks and praise. We know that we are a broken people, yet it is our brokenness that makes us whole. For we are on the hard journey of building and truly building beloved community. The time for talking about it is done. So, where do we begin? Maybe we begin again and again in love. anyone could slay a dragon, but try waking up every morning and loving the road all over again. That's what takes a real hero, writes Brian Andrews, an American artist and publisher. While this morning has absolutely nothing to do with slaying a dragon, sorry, it does have everything to do with slaying oppression and inequality in our world. As Unitarian Universalists, we are called to be the weavers of a tapestry of people, and to be such weavers takes courage. I wonder where we might still need some work, and where we might find the courage to continue in the work. Well, no, we are not called to slay the dragon, thank God, because I don't think I could do it, but to wake up every morning. Those mornings we don't want to wake up and love the world all over again. On those mornings when we don't know if we can. I think us here to wonder, writes Alice Walker in The Color Purple, in the voice of Albert, in a conversation with Celie. I think us here to wonder, myself to wonder, to ask, and in wondering about the big things and asking about the small things, you learn little about the small ones, almost by accident, but you never know nothing more about the big ones than when you started out with. So what I wonder this morning is what happens when a faith community's journey leads it down a new path. What untold stories will emerge, stories that have been swept under a rug of guilt and shame. When uncovered, I'm wondering how we respond to such stories, recognizing and naming a humanity that wants and still is denied by a comfortable silence. What choices do we make from here? And how will those choices impact our lives and the lives of others? You can choose courage or comfort, but you cannot choose both, writes Brené Brown, a researcher and storyteller who has spent the last 2 decades studying courage, vulnerability, shame, and empathy. So, in other words, if we wish to choose to be courageous, it'll mean moving away from comfort for the sake of comfort as we name and share and explore the stories swept under the rug. If we choose courage, it will mean we lean towards a new way of covenant. As Unitarian Universalists, we say we are rooted in love. What space does love take in justice? Are we called to be rooted in love, of collective love, or of a love of individualism? Rooted in collective love, the beloved Alondra Williams, whose words we heard earlier, reminds us that ideology sparks movements, but our relationships are what change and transform and sustain our movements. And so what comes next if ideology sparks movements and relationships change and sustain our movements? Well, by now, I hope you're familiar with or have at least heard of Article 2 of the UUA, the Unitarian Universalist Association. But if you haven't, don't worry, I'm going to share all about it. Article 2 is where the principles and purposes of our Unitarian Universalist faith movement are laid out as a foundation of all of the work that the UUA, its member congregations, and its covenanted communities hold themselves to. According to the UUA, Article 2 is the covenant between which all of our congregations, covenanted communities, faith communities, religious organizations, and our justice efforts in the world pledge themselves to when they become a member or act in according with our UUA. The current principles and purposes were last revised in 1987. At General Assembly since then, there have been discussions around amending the principles, conversations about adding an 8th to address fascism, racism, and other oppressions. There's been discussion around the first principle for addressing the inherent worth and dignity of non-human life. Discussion has emerged about the 5th principle, which some have named the ways that Unitarian Universalism as a whole does not embody an inclusive democratic process. While many great and some not so great discussions have been had, none of them gained enough traction they needed for change. However, this does bring us to the new language now proposed by Article 2. This year at General Assembly, back in June, the new language passed a preliminary vote with 86% of delegates in favor of a one-year study before a vote to affirm at next year's all virtual General Assembly. So change is on the horizon for Unitarian Universalism. So what is that change? Well, the preamble of the proposed Article 2 now reads this: as Unitarian Universalist, we covenant congregation to congregation and throughout our association to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritage of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building upon a foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We become accountable to one another in doing this work and in living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. So what does this mean for us here and now? Living shared values through the spiritual discipline of love takes courage. It takes courage to challenge the fabric of an institution and a system when that system has been founded on perhaps ideals that we no longer wish to hold. According to James H. Cone, in his book, God of the Oppressed, he writes, if we cannot recognize the truth, then what can liberate us from that which is untrue? Well, the truth is that a foundation rooted in patriarchy, white supremacy, heteronormativity, and the oppression of others takes courage to overcome and counter with love. A path of courage and not one of comfort calls upon all of us who are spiritual, religious, human travelers, those who are unsure of all of the spiritual and religious talk and wish the UUA and our congregations would just stop using it, to be justice seekers, truth tellers, and word healers as we collectively journey quite imperfectly towards spiritual wholeness, as we build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by actions that accountably dismantle racism, oppressions in ourselves and others. Called to be the weavers of such a beloved community in this way, does require courage, and we have only just begun to explore the promise of what it means to be such weavers. We must ask ourselves, will we still need work, and will our liberal faith community has got it wrong? And I've got news for you. And some of you may not like it, but the truth is, one sermon, one reflection, reading a single book, listening to NPR every day will not come close to giving you the answers, a solution, or a even near complete understanding of what it means to be weavers of such a tapestry as Unitarian Universalism, especially when we are called to ground that community in love. So to this end, our sacred promise, our sacred journey becomes how, not if, not when, not why, but how we wish to achieve such an enormous task of beloved community. If that is indeed what we wish to do, and I believe it is, I also believe that we need a bold new response to build beloved community, that the systems that we have been building beloved community with may not be the systems that serve us now. I believe we must assess our own level of comfort and be ready for the painful discomfort that will and should arise. And after such a process, be ready to do something bold in response. So what is that bold response? We tell the truth, the tough and challenging truth of our movements and our history. We hold people accountable in life-changing and life-saving ways. I know we want to build beloved community, but the truth of the matter is we as a faith community are not there yet. Perhaps an answer lies in the words of the Reverend Dr. Mark Morrison Reed as to why we are not. He writes, Unitarian Universalism never developed a form of worship, liturgy, writing, music, theology for African American experiences. Black folks came to UU congregations, not the other way around. Therefore, when they arrived, there was nothing around their spirituality as UUs. No natural interface with African American communities. After 100 years of squashed opportunities, the consequences came to rest. The chaos that unfolded was a result of a self-created void. A self-created void that now makes some of us ask, without action, where are the people of color in our congregations? Tell the truth, they say. Tell the truth. The truth is, Unitarian Universalism has a history of missing the mark and doing an amazing thing the next moment. The truth is, we have come a long way with LGBTQIA justice and have ignored racial justice, or at least we've tried to ignore it. The truth is that our association has been doing the work for a long time, and our congregations say, oh, that's the UUA, I don't trust them. They're telling me what to do. So what do we do next? The answer is simple and not so simple. And it can be summed up by Gloria Jean Watkins, a person better known by her pen name, Bell Hooks. She writes, "We hold people accountable and at the same time remain in touch with their humanity, enough to believe in their capacity to be transformed." To believe in a capacity to be transformed, that is bold. Believing in a capacity to be transformed, accountable, transformed with and because of our humanity alone, that takes courage. It takes courage to be accountable, courage to be transformed, and courage to believe in others and our own capacity to be transformed. Beloveds, we are not yet the fully radical, fully inclusive faith that we would claim to be, and it would take courage to lean ever more so into the unknown. Don't get me wrong, we have done a lot of work, and there is a lot of work still to be done. There are so many areas still to be explored, so much that has been unaddressed. So how do we show courage and build a fully radically inclusive faith? How do we build beloved community? We organize in ways that change the structures that we have created. We dream dreams that our ancestors could have never have dreamed because the seed wasn't even planted in their mind. We recruit and we lead and we follow when the white leadership of Unitarian Universalism is not the leadership that is needed in that moment. We listen and follow suit. We celebrate all of the wins. We vote out oppression. We canvass and elevate and build new systems. We invite everyone to join us, and we better have something on the inside when they do, and not expect them to build that for us. We imagine, we abolish, we campaign and fundraise, we transform ourselves and one another. We sometimes have to repair relationships that have been broken, even if we ourselves were not the ones that broke them. We establish and we trailblaze, and we protest, and we protest, and we protest because the world demands our love. So the simple answer, we side with love and nothing else. So beloveds, Unitarian Universalist, you are called to be the weavers of a people, its narrative, its history, into a beautiful tapestry. May we begin again and again and again and again in love. May it be so, and blessed be.
Thank you, Roddy. I think. Thank you, and yeah, we've got work to do. I invite us to rise in body and spirit as we share our closing hymn, number 1014. going to wave goodbye to the folks on Zoom because we're all going to gather back together after our social time. We extinguish the flame of our chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we hold in our hearts until we are together again.
So, beloveds, there is work to be done, and the road awaits your liberating ministry. So may you go forward in the power of love and proclaim the truth that sets each and every one of us free. Until we are together again.
Amen. Sorry, there is a penny up here that I've been sending good vibes to ever since the children